By the halfway point of 2023, climate change was already in full swing, with catastrophic weather events making news and claiming lives and livelihoods all across the world. We've already witnessed extreme weather events that confirm what we all already know to be true. Climate change is occurring right now. These events include a record-breaking cyclone in southeastern Africa, wildfires in Chile and Canada, intolerable heat waves across Asia, strong ice storms in the southern United States, and more. Likewise, things are predicted to get worse. According to the most recent report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change (IPCC), which was published in March, the globe could experience a 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature increase by the start of the 2030s if we continue to act collectively in action against the climate catastrophe. As a result, the frequency and intensity of extreme weather occurrences would rise. In other words, the situation is not good, and we must act now to combat climate change if we want to avert the forecasts. That entails taking individual action in our own lives to lessen our own carbon footprints. But more importantly, it entails urging world leaders and business leaders to heed the science and implement the urgent, widespread, and ambitious reform required to fight climate change. This includes cutting carbon emissions, ensuring a just transition to clean energy, and making sure the most climate-vulnerable nations can withstand increasingly frequent natural disasters. Here are some facts on how severe the extreme weather has been so far this year, illustrating the necessity of taking climate action in 2023. Japan, Guam, the Philippines, Taiwan. Tropical storm Mocha. At the end of May and the beginning of June, Guam, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Japan were all impacted by the unusually intense typhoon or tropical storm Mocha. The effects of Mocha, which was reported as the strongest tropical storm ever recorded in the Northern Hemisphere in May 2023, and the strongest tropical cyclone ever recorded globally, are still being felt throughout the region. Mocha is expected to be directly responsible for torrential rains, floods, and mudslides. The Philippines is in a constant state of climate emergency, said Jefferson Chua of Greenpeace Philippines. Super typhoons have become our new normal, along with longer-term impacts like drought, sea level rise, and resource depletion. Canada. Wildfires. Early in June, wildfires in Canada were making headlines everywhere, and as a result, much of North America was also covered in smoke and air pollution. Al Jazeera reports that the effects of the fires can be seen as far away as Norway, while thousands of people in Canada have been forced out of their homes. Al Jazeera reports that Canada is witnessing its worst ever start to the wildfire season, partly due to an unusually dry period followed by a heat wave. As of June 9, there were still 427 active wildfires, 232 of which were out of control, indicating that the fires have not yet been put out. Myanmar. Cyclone Mocha. Cyclone Mocha, which struck Myanmar's Rakhine state in the middle of May, was one of the most powerful storms to ever strike the area. An estimated 145 people were killed by the storm, which also caused extensive damage to infrastructure, houses, businesses, and schools by causing severe rainfall, flash floods, and landslides. The typhoon affected 800,000 people altogether, according to the UN, with 80% of schools apparently suffering damage. The storm has also had an impact on the nation's educational system, delaying the start of the new school year that was scheduled to begin around the time the storm hit. Italy. Floods. Late in May, the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy saw severe rains that caused landslides and floods that resulted in the deaths of at least 15 people and the displacement of 40,000 more. Farmlands and important infrastructure were destroyed as a result of the flooding, which occurred after the area experienced significant rainfall in the previous few months. Stefano Bonaccini, the president of Emilia-Romagna, commented on the issue, saying, "When we have 6 months' worth of rainfall in 36 hours, falling where there had already been record rain 2 weeks ago, there is no territory that can hold out." South Sudan, floods. 1 million people will be affected by the 4th year of historic floods in South Sudan in 2023, which is a phenomenon that has never before occurred there. The nation hasn't experienced a dry season in nearly 5 years, and roughly 47,700 square kilometers of the territory are still underwater. To put that in context, the size of London is 1,583 square kilometers, according to Mercy Jichui, country director for Mercy Corps in South Sudan. Floodwaters in Unity State have rendered all roads impassable, making basic necessities such as food, clean water, and health care, as well as life-saving humanitarian aid, difficult to access. There is no indication that the water is receding, according to UNHCR spokesperson Charlotte Holmqvist. Permanent climate change and climatic displacement are what we are witnessing. Malawi, Mozambique, Madagascar, and Zimbabwe. Cyclone Freddy, a cyclone that affected Malawi, Mozambique, Madagascar, and Zimbabwe for more than a month, from February 6 to March 15, caused approximately 1,000 fatalities and 500,000 displaced persons. The cyclone's intensity shattered the world record for the greatest cyclone energy accumulated and established a new record for the longest cyclone in recorded history. Along with the storm's destruction of infrastructure, water and sewage systems were also destroyed, and the cholera outbreak that had already been ravaging Malawi prior to the cyclone was accelerated by the storm's fueling of it. Asia, heat wave. With temperatures ranging from 38 to 45 degrees Celsius in the middle of April, a heat wave spread across China, India, Thailand, Laos, Bangladesh, and other nations in Asia, shattering temperature records in more than a dozen nations. Maximiliano Herrera, a scientist and weather historian, described the intense heat as the worst April heat wave in Asian history in an interview with The Guardian. Schools and places of employment are closed to shield people from the heat as the country continues to experience excessive heat, which has already claimed lives in Thailand and India. Human-induced climate change is the major cause of the growing number and ferocity of heat waves we're seeing across Asia, said Deepshikha Sharma, a climate and environment specialist at the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development ICMOD. This signals to the fact that the climate emergency is here for this region. The heat wave is only a warning sign of the extreme weather that is anticipated to occur this summer, according to scientists. Abid Hussain, senior economist and food systems specialist at ICMOD, stated that all climate models indicate that these heat waves would become more frequent and intense across South Asia. Such heat waves will have an impact on 2 billion people. Chile. Forest fires. Chile has been suffering exceptionally dry weather for the past 10 years, which has resulted in what scientists have dubbed a megadrought. In February of this year, one of the deadliest wildfires in the history of the nation was set off by record summer temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius (104 degrees Fahrenheit). Together with strong winds, a state of emergency was proclaimed in 3 areas as a result of the fires, which scorched an estimated 270,000 hectares, 667,000 acres of land, burned hundreds of homes, and claimed the lives of 24 people. At the time, Carolina Toja, Chile's interior minister, said, "The thermometer has reached points that we have never known until now." The evolution of climate change shows us time and time again that this has a centrality and capacity to cause an impact that we have to internalize much more. Toja added, Chile is one of the nations most susceptible to climate change. And this is not just theory. It is based on actual experience. Texas, USA. Ice storm. In the late January and early February of this year, A winter storm that affected states from Tennessee to Texas caused almost 40 million people to be placed under a winter weather alert across the southern and central United States. At least 10 people were killed by the storm's effects, which also caused hundreds of thousands of people to lose power for days, forced the closure of hospitals and schools, damaged homes, and stopped businesses. Sao Paulo, floods and landslides. 48 persons lost their lives as a result of floods and landslides caused by severe rains that occurred in the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil's southeast during Carnival season in February. The state experienced at least 600 millimeters, 23.6 inches of rain, according to The Guardian, which is the largest cumulative total in American history. People who were displaced by the floods and landslides had to seek shelter in churches and schools during the days that followed the disasters, and rescue teams struggled to get basic necessities like food, water, and hygiene kits to those in need while looking for survivors and clearing the way for landslides that blocked access to remote areas. The rain in the cities along the north coast of Sao Paulo was the most ever recorded in Brazil, according to a statement from the city's governor. Rwanda, floods and landslides. More than 120 people have died as a result of the early May floods and landslides that were brought on by heavy rains in Rwanda's northern and western provinces, which have also left many more homeless and in desperate need of aid. The Rwanda Meteorology Agency has warned that more rain is on the way. The number of fatalities is anticipated to rise given that rescue efforts are still ongoing. There are still residents trapped in their homes, and the floodwaters are constantly rising. The greatest floods Rwanda has experienced since May 2020, according to the BBC. The neighboring nations are also being affected by the rains and water, including Uganda, where the Red Cross reports that 6 people have died in landslides, showing the effects of the climate catastrophe and the reasons we need to act quickly to address it are vital. But doing so can also contribute to the problem of climate anxiety, which is becoming more and more of a problem. And that ends today's episode. Please subscribe to Weather Collapse if you want to know more and be updated on the latest news about natural calamities or disasters happening all over the world. And don't forget to like today's video. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.